much for tuning into my channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this cold shoulder top, which is just a really nice twist to a basic top. I love the way it turned out, and it's totally customizable, so you can make it long sleeve or short sleeve. You can make a lower neckline or a high neckline like I did, so you can make it exactly how you'd like. I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and if you do, please give the video a thumbs up, and I would love it if you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any more tutorials. And let's get sewing! To make this top, you'll need to use a stretch knit fabric. I used about 2/3 of a yard for mine, but I do suggest getting about a yard, especially if you want a larger size or long sleeves. And you'll also need a basic shirt with sleeves to use as a template, which we'll be folding up to create our bodice pattern. My shirt was actually a few inches longer than I liked, so I started by folding the bottom edge up to the length I wanted my new top to be, although you can skip that if you like the length of your shirt. Next, fold one of your sleeves in to the center of the shirt and adjust it so you can clearly see the curved shape of the armhole like so. Fold the other sleeve in and adjust it as well, so now your shirt looks like a tank top. Finally, fold the shirt in half down the center, and this is our bodice pattern. Fold a portion of your fabric over a little wider than the shirt, making sure it will stretch the most in the direction the arrows are going so the shirt will stretch around you once it's done. Lay the shirt onto your fabric so that the folds of both pieces line up and pin it into place. Cut out your bodice by cutting a 1/2 inch larger on all sides of the shirt, which adds the room we need for hem and seam allowance. Remove the shirt and unfold your fabric, and you'll have a bodice piece cut out that looks like this. Then use it to cut a second identical bodice piece. Lay them together with the correct sides of the fabrics facing together and pin and sew along the shoulders and sides using a 1/2 inch seam allowance for all your seams. Since we're working with stretch fabric, use a ballpoint needle and sew all of your seams and hems with either a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch, which will allow the seams to stretch with the fabric because a regular straight stitch would break when stretched. To make the cold shoulder sleeve pattern, lay your shirt out so the sleeve is straightened out, where this top straight edge is the folded edge of the sleeve, and this curved seam where the sleeve and armhole are sewn together looks like half of a bell shape. Lay a see-through piece of paper like tissue or tracing paper down so its straight edge is lined up along the folded edge of the sleeve. Starting at the armpit, begin tracing up that curved armhole seam, but stop tracing when you get about halfway up the curve and draw a straight line back to the edge of the paper. This will create the cold shoulder cutout. Now trace along the sleeve's diagonal edge, making it as long or as short as you'd like, and finally draw a straight line back to the edge of the paper where you want the sleeve to end. And don't forget to write on the paper where the folded edge was so you don't forget. Remove the shirt and add new lines a 1/2 inch outside of the sleeve shape to add seam and hem allowance on all sides except the folded edge. Cut along these new lines to cut out your pattern, which should look like this. Fold a portion of your remaining fabric over and lay the pattern onto the fold. Pin it down and cut it out, and when you remove the pattern and unfold the fabric, you'll have a sleeve cut out. Then cut a second sleeve. Lay them with the wrong side facing up so we can hem these top straight edges. To do so, fold the raw edge of the fabric over about a 1/4 inch once, then fold it over again another 1/4 inch and pin it down. Continue double folding and pinning along the whole edge, smoothing out the fabric as you go, and repeat on the other sleeve. Sew to secure the hems, and I find that using a wider stretch or zigzag stitch works best on hems because it flattens out the fabric and helps it lay neatly. Flip them over and fold them in half so the correct sides are facing together. Pin and sew along the long edges to create the sleeves. To attach them to the bodice, turn both pieces right side out. Grab the underarm seam of the sleeve in one hand and the underarm seam of the bodice in the other hand and line up the seams with the correct sides together. Open up and flatten out the seam allowances and pin the pieces together. Now you'll need to line up and pin the curved edges of both pieces together on either side of that underarm seam. So bring the curved edges of the sleeve and armhole together on one side and begin pinning them, pinning until you reach the top edge of the sleeve. Since we're making a cold shoulder top, the sleeve will end about halfway up the armhole. Go to the other side of that underarm seam. Line up the curved edges of the fabric and pin all the way up that side as well. And now that the sleeve and armhole are pinned, sew along the pinned portion to join them together. As you can see, you now have a cold shoulder cutout. Then attach the other sleeve the same way. We have to hem all the raw edges next, so turn your top inside out, and I've zoomed in closer to the cold shoulder here. Since the edge of the sleeve is already hemmed, we need to hem the raw edge of the armhole too, so start right at the point where the seam ends and the opening of the armhole begins, and fold the raw edge over about 1/4 inch. Fold it over again another 1/4 inch, pin it down, and then continue double folding up the armhole. When you get to the shoulder seam, open up and flatten out the seam allowance before folding it, and then flip the top over and continue around the other side of the armhole until it's completely double folded and pinned into place. Sew the pinned portion to hem it, taking your time and being careful not to stretch the fabric as you sew. Then repeat to hem the other cold shoulder as well, so the cutouts are neatly finished. Turn the top inside out again and hem the neckline by using that same process of double folding the fabric 1/4 inch at a time, pinning frequently around the curves, and sewing around the neckline to secure the hem. Double fold and sew to hem the sleeves the same way, and finally repeat the process to hem the shirt's bottom edge, and now you can rock your cold shoulder top. Thanks for watching and happy sewing! I forgot what I was going to say. Top, which is just a I totally messed that up.